How's it going, everybody? It's Pilotfin. We are back with another FPL live stream. I said I was going to do it at 6:30 p.m. EST, but yeah, it slipped my mind that the games were at 5 o'clock my time, because I'm an hour ahead of EST. Yeah, the game ended later than I thought. So yeah, we're a little bit late. But hopefully the games for the following week will be the times will be fine. For doing the 6:30 p.m. EST streams, because then the UK will have gone into daylight saving time by then. So we should be okay. That being said, we're here to talk about the game week 30, the blank game week 30. Got a little change on the graphic here. And how that is going to look. Only just the 4 fixtures, because there's FA Cup fixtures being played as well. We're going to take a look at how our team did in double game week 29. Just a small red arrow, just a little bit of a preview. But we were saved by a couple of players, because Kane definitely hurt us this week. And we're also going to take a look at the newly announced double game week fixtures. They're not fully set in stone as of yet, but we can still take a look at them and what they could do, as well as I'm on a free hit. So the title of the stream, free hit number 2. So we're going to talk about my free hit strategy for this game week. I only had very few players, if any at all, that were going to be able to play in this game week, and some of them wouldn't have even started potentially. So we'll run through why I chose to use my second free hit. I still have my wild card. I still have my bench boost. We're typically going to pair those in back-to-back, and we'll see how that goes. And that actually will depend on how soon we wildcard is based on these newly announced doubles. So we'll see kind of how that one goes as well. But before we do that, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout before we get started. So Fantasy Football Scout has a fantastic members area. We usually use a bunch of different tables and stuff, which you probably saw in the deadline stream. We'll be using them again on the deadline stream tomorrow, since it is a Friday deadline. I have to do it the night before, so we're going to be using those tomorrow and seeing like what's the best captaincy shout, because there's no Mo Salah in that week, so it's going to be wide open, I think, potentially, although Kane has made a good argument for him to be the man to captain. But we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at what defenses are the weakest out of the the 8 teams playing out of the 4 fixtures. And we'll take a look at a couple other things as well. What teams' attacks are good. All the normal tables that we usually look at. But it has much, much more. You can see my tables in the members area if you are a member of it. Make sure to sign up in the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. Or if you're watching this live, as we do these streams live on Twitch, it'll be in the About section. So make sure to check that out. Now, let's see how the team did for Double Game Week 29. So, the team is up on the screen. We have 1 game left to go. That is still the Newcastle versus Everton game, which is going to be played tomorrow. And we don't have any players in that fixture. So, how did we do? Well, we got 97 points, which is a very, very good score, but we took a -4, so it means we would end up with 93 points. It still hasn't calculated Trent's bonus point, as well as Robertson's 3 bonus points as well. But it has calculated everything else. So if we hadn't have taken a hit this week, we would have been on a tiny, tiny green arrow or a gray arrow, and we would have been perfectly fine. But we did take the hit, and what a hit it was. We took out Bowen, we took out Reece James, who probably we would have played Dennis and Watkins most likely, and we took them out for Kulusevski and Robertson. Bowen and Reece James, 2 players that were injured that didn't play, both came out. Kulusevski and Robertson in, 26 points between them. Happy days. So the hit would have been Dennis and Watkins, would have been 4, plus additional 4 was 8 points in total. 8 minus 26 is up on the score by 18 points. So I think we did okay there. At the back, I mean, we were just solid. Clean sheets all around. Ramsdale, 10 points. Happy that Arsenal lost tonight, even though it does mean Liverpool within 1 point of Man City. But hopefully Man City can beat them when they play each other. Fingers crossed. It's the lesser of 2 evils as a United fan. Cancelo was very happy with the clean sheet and the 3 bonus points there. Robertson was excellent. Magnus Carlsen captained him this week, so shout out to Magnus Carlsen, because he is fantastic at FPL. Trent just doing his thing. Rudiger getting booked. That was kind of annoying. Smith Rowe not to start in either of the games. Maybe it's because he was coming back from illness, but again, not crazy, but there was a scenario where when he did come on, had he scored after Robertson had gotten his assist, it would have been better off for Liverpool losing their clean sheet. So yeah, because I would have gotten like max points from Smith Rowe because nobody owns Smith Rowe. But he would be one of the players that I might be ditching this week on the free hit. Rafinha, how he didn't get more points, I don't know. Salah was actually happy that he didn't get any returns after he went off. Because I triple captained him when he got, 3 goals and an assist or whatever it was. So, wasn't angry at all that he was on the bench to start with. And he came on, just got the 1 point. Kulusevski, 2 assists on the week. Fantastic. They tried to take one away from him and was very angry about that. But they rightfully gave it back to him, even though it was quite jammy. And then Coutinho and Weghorst. Like, basically our differential players in Smith Rowe, Weghorst, Coutinho didn't do anything. Cancelo was technically a differential player, but, few managers still have him, and he did well for us. But had, like, Smith Rowe come on and scored or something like that in the first game, Coutinho had gotten something, or Weghorst had gotten something, we would have been probably on a green arrow with still 1 game to go, even though we don't have any players in it. So we'll probably end up somewhere around, like, 4,000 around that, which is perfectly fine. Only an 800 drop. That's not the end of the world. I think I can make that back for sure. With the free hit, and it still leaves my team in good stead long term. Not having Harry Kane is probably an issue at the moment, but I think it's going to be less and less, kind of potent, as it were, as the doubles roll in more and more in favor of other teams like Chelsea, like City potentially, and we'll get onto those in a bit. So, like, Kane will become the single game week player, maybe playing an average fixture. And then maybe you might have to use that cash elsewhere. So, we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, the back line was elite. Midfield was, a couple of, Kulusevski was a great transfer. Salah was doing Salah things. And the rest was kind of mad. The bench was mad as well. Mendy kept a clean sheet, but, we had Rudiger in there. Nobody would have swapped in for anyone that would have gained me any more points. So, we played the most points in our team. So, we did well on that. So, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Also, I forgot to say Jonas25. Thank you for the follow as well. So, yeah, we did a -4 last week. And had we not done the -4 and still kept the same points, even though that's not how it works, we would have been on a slight green arrow right now because our safety score on live FPL is 97. Where does that put us in the Fantasy Football Scout Family League? Let me see. Az is on 104 points. He's getting away from me. That's not good. He played his wild card. He captained Salah. He still has Gordon to go. But, I mean, he has Kane. He's got Lacazette, who did well. Doherty, who came off earlier than the game ended. Got himself a clean sheet there. And he had Robertson as well. So, basically, the main difference was he had Kane. I didn't. If I would have had Kane instead of somebody else, if it would have been Weghorst, I would have been up 10 more points, and I'd have been on 104 with the hit. So yeah, I would have been fine. We got to compare ourselves to some of the best, We got us, and Late Riser's having an absolute stormer. He played a chip as well with the bench boost. He had Robertson, Doherty, Kulusevski, Kane. He's still got Richarlison and Gordon and Dubravka to go. So his bench boost, he's got, 17 points with Dubravka still to go. As long as Dubravka doesn't concede 4, I think he's fine. Which, highly unlikely. But he did take a -8 to do so. But yeah, I think he's doing okay for himself. His team doing quite well. So, yeah. But we still have a couple of our chips left in play. So a lot of the managers will have their maybe just one of their free hits left. Whereas we have 2 very valuable chips left to go. And we can pair them back to back and get the most optimal team that we want at the right time. So hopefully that helps us out in the long term. Let's take a look at how we did for our predictions. Because we can go through those as well. As we normally do. There's our prediction tweet, and for whatever reason, it is really, really small. There we go. Maneuver it like that. Move it across. There we go. Right. Let's move to here. What we'll do is we can make the prediction tweet a little bit bigger. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Just to make it a little bit easier for everyone to see. Right. So, how did we do last week? Well, we had a lot more fixtures, but we did get 12 points. And the way the scoring works, if you don't know, I have my notepad off to the side here, is basically as follows. If you get the exact score right, so if you predicted, like I did, Liverpool to beat Brighton 2-0, you get 3 points. If you predicted the correct result, so let's say I had predicted Liverpool to win 1-0 over Brighton and they won 2-0, I get 1 point, and any incorrect result, I get no points. So I predicted Liverpool to beat Brighton 2-0, and it was 2-0, so we get the 3 points there. So happy days. Brentford Burnley, I predicted 1-1. Brentford getting 2 late goals in the game. Christian Eriksen inspired one of those as well. And it was a fantastic ball indeed. Burnley looking pretty good, keeping themselves a little bit spaced out from the teams that are down in the relegation zone, and doing well for themselves. So we got that one wrong. I would like to see, if I had to choose between, like, let's say, like, oh, Pilot, who would you rather in the relegation zone, or like get relegated at the end of the season, Brentford or Burnley? No offense, Burnley fans, I want you to get relegated because I don't like playing you as a United fan, but I just like Brentford more as a team. I don't know. I think Weghorst could be good, but you'll probably come right back up anyway because I think Burnley's good enough to do so. But yeah, we got that result wrong. Sorry, Burnley fans. Man United versus Spurs. They didn't back my team to win, but we did. So great. We scored. Ronaldo. Being Ronaldo. Vacation was pretty good. He's definitely the problem, right? Anyway, we didn't get that one right. Chelsea versus Newcastle, I predicted a 3-1. Very low scoring affair. 1-0. Chelsea potentially got away with one here. Chalobah should have probably given away a penalty. VAR didn't check it for whatever reason. I don't know why. Or they did and just deemed it not a penalty. I'm not sure how. We got the result right, so we got the 1 point there. Wolves versus Everton. Like I said, when Wolves want to beat a team, they beat them 1-0. So we get 3 points for that. Leeds versus Norwich. Exact score, 2-1. We got that one right as well. 3 points there. Southampton versus Watford. I predicted 2-1, but damn, got it the wrong way around. Watford doing quite well for themselves, keeping their hopes somewhat alive, although very slimly, so nothing doing there. West Ham versus Aston Villa, predicted a 1-1. West Ham had other ideas, got a nice 2-goal cushion, and then Ramsey got one later on. There's going to be a lot of Ramseys on the bench this week, so I can see it coming. So 2-1 in that one for them. So we got that one wrong. Leicester versus Arsenal, didn't get that one right. I thought Leicester would do something in that game. Wasn't to be. Man City versus Palace, they just seemed to struggle versus Crystal Palace. So 3-1 scoreline was my prediction. 0-0. Was happy with the Man City clean sheet though. And these are the last games here. We got Spurs Brighton. I predicted 2-1 in favor of Spurs. It was 2-0, so 1 point. And then Liverpool 3-0 over Arsenal was ended up being 2-0, so the 1 point there. And then the Everton Newcastle game, we don't know, but I'll just pretend like I got it wrong for whatever reason. I'll just say, let's say it's a draw or something. So I got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we got 12 points there. Fantastic. We matched our score from last week, although we did have some doubles, which makes it easier. Let's see. And then our differential picks. We had Liverpool for the clean sheet. Yes. We had Dubravka. Not yet. But he's still tentative, so we'll put a question mark there. Doherty, yes. Diaz scored, yes. And then Patson Daka, no. So 3 and a question mark for that one. So close enough on the differentials, but more than half. If Dubravka ends up getting a clean sheet, which is very possible because Everton haven't been scoring very much at all. If they go down early, the crowd might get on their back. So we shall see. For the predictions this week, should be pretty straightforward, to be honest. We only got 4 games. So let me move the tweet out of the way. There we go. So, nice and easy. 4 fixtures. Shouldn't be too difficult for us, but our score will be lower, so all of our points this week will be tripled. Or double. Let's do double. Double tonight seems a little bit better because 4 fixtures is close enough to 5, and half of 10 is 5. So yeah, we'll do it that way. double the points this week. And then we'll have our clean sheet, goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and forward. Right. Wolves Leeds. Do I think Wolves are going to concede a goal to Leeds? Probably not, because Leeds struggled to score a couple of goals versus Norwich, who are one of, if not the worst defense in the league. Wolves kept a clean sheet to Everton, who are a much better team than Norwich, in my opinion, although the form doesn't suggest it. I think this could just be another 1-0 Wolves, to be honest. I think it very well could be. I think Rafinha owners, he might do something. Who knows? Patrick Bamford getting taken off at halftime. That's a bit iffy for him. And I think that they need him to be playing well. So we'll see. I think they really miss Calvin Phillips. He's the main kind of kicker there. He's the one who basically distributes the ball and allows for the front men to do what they do best while still having a shield with him back there. I just think it's written to have Wolves 1-0, I think. Leeds have struggled to score goals. They need a moment of brilliance from somebody, and it's usually Rafinha, but Wolves should be fine, I think, in this one. And they got a clean sheet versus Everton, so that'll probably help them out as well. And they're also at home, which is very difficult to go to Molyneux. I'm going to come back to the Arsenal-Aston Villa one, because I think that one's the hardest one to call. Leicester versus Brentford. I think this one could be an interesting game. I can see it going both ways. I can see it being like decently scoring, potentially. And I'm just curious to know who's going to play in that Leicester team. I can see Ivan Toney potentially scoring in this one, just because set piece threat or one of the defenders may be scoring. And I think that, yes, Leicester's home, but I think Brentford will still give them, a bit of trouble. I'm actually going to look up what they did the last time they played. Leicester versus Brentford. What did they do the last time they played? Let's see. Just going through all their fixtures now. When did they play Brentford? Control F. Brentford. Here they go. Leicester won 2-1. Tielemans scored. Maddison scored. Although it was a fairly evenish game. Actually, Brentford was even better, to be honest. And Leicester had to come back in that one. So I can see it probably being somewhat close as well. I'm actually going to go with a 2-2. I think that Brentford are good enough to get something there. We'll have to see kind of who those two goals are going to be from either side. And we got to pick them, basically. I'm half tempted to give Eriksson, but if he was a forward, he'd be a shoe-in. But if not, he's not, unfortunately. So we have to pick one of our midfield spots, which are very precious, actually, on this free hit as well. Spurs versus West Ham. I think this one's a bit easier to call. No Jared Bowen. No problems, basically. It seems like West Ham play one good game, one bad game. When they play against a top team, like one of the big six teams, they kind of just sit back a little bit, and they're not really that inspiring, to be honest. And missing Bowen is going to be a big problem for them, because I think Spurs can be exploited when they do overextend with the likes of Doherty and Reguilon. But they just don't have anyone like that that's going to be able to do that, unless Ben Rama does something. I think Spurs will probably still concede, but I think ultimately they'll win the game. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 in that one. Now, this one is the toughest one to call, because I think Villa are going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back versus West Ham. They showed that they can really, really light up teams. It just depends on what Arsenal teams show up. If the team that shows up today versus Liverpool, where they basically can't convert anything, or apart from the one chance where Alisson had it covered, but there was also 3 defenders across the face of the goal, so it would have been, it's still, yes, the goal was open one-on-one, but it was actually 4 defenders in front of I think it was Odegaard who ended up taking the shot. That was the only real chance from my recollection that they got. There was the like quick free kick where Lacazette could have got in. Yeah, apart from that, I don't remember too much. Let me actually check the stats for Arsenal's game as well with Liverpool today. I'm just curious how that was. So yeah, it was fair. Yeah, just 2 shots on target for Arsenal. Same amount of shots as Liverpool. Liverpool had 3 shots on target, but they scored both of them. Yeah, Liverpool was just better. Possession was fairly even. I think Liverpool, being the away team, gave Arsenal a little bit more of the ball, which was kind of smart because Arsenal typically want to hit you more on the transition, or win the ball high up the pitch. But they play more of a mid-block, wanted Liverpool to see if they can pass through it, so that they can take it off them around the halfway, and then they could be running in directly at the out-of-position Trent, who got skipped past quite a few times, actually, in the game. So, yeah, I think Arsenal, being the away team, probably hinders them a little bit. And I think Aston Villa will be up for it. Steven Gerrard, someone who played Arsenal probably loads of times, probably, wanted to, beat Arsenal as one of the bigger teams at every chance he got. So he's probably going to be up for it as well. I think Aston Villa is still playing well. How did they do the last time they played each other? Aston Villa. Aston Villa, Control F, Arsenal. Arsenal won 3-1 at the Emirates. Jacob Ramsey got a late one. It was fairly dominant, actually. 22 shots, 9 on target, 10 shots, 4 on target. So they still had chances. This lineup, however, ran with a back 3, which was interesting. I don't think he's going to go with that. He's going to go with a more combative midfield. Jacob Ramsey did not play in the game until he came on as a sub and scored. And I remember that ruined some clean sheets, if I remember correctly, in that game, because I think a lot of managers had Arsenal defense. And probably Ramsdale. I think this one's going to be quite close, to be honest. I'm half tempted to go like 2-2. Or maybe like an Arsenal 2-1. It's a bit tricky. I think Arsenal are playing really, really well, annoyingly. But I think Villa can play well, or tend to play well, at home. So I'm just gonna favor Arsenal slightly in this one. And actually, I'm gonna go with a little bit bigger of a scoreline. I'm gonna go 3-2. I think it could be 3-2 either way, to be honest, or a 2-2. But that's what I'm gonna go with. I may be wrong. Hopefully, when I predict Arsenal to win, they always seem to draw or lose. So maybe that's gonna be the curse for them. A clean sheet most likely this week. The most likely team is going to be Wolves. We don't have much selection here. Also, with the differential picks, I'm going to try to pick somebody that's going to be a bit like off kilter, as it were. They may not necessarily be the most popular pick. So for goalkeepers, I think if you're going to go somebody this week, it's probably going to be Jose Sa, to be honest. 12.7%. I mean, I'm just not going to... Like, with goalkeepers, I only have 8 to pick from. The other one maybe be Schmeichel, but I think you got to go Saw. He's the most likely to get a clean sheet. In defense, let's see. Who am I going to go with defense-wise? I think if you're going to go with somebody, you have to go with somebody that's a bit exciting. Someone that could potentially be slightly different, or could get something that could be a bit, out there, or might improve the team. So as an example, like a Wesley Fofana or somebody like that at 4.3 million, who's coming back in the team. Maybe he gets some minutes in. Do they play Europa League? I'm not sure if they do, but if they do, maybe get some minutes in that, and then maybe he starts. That's what you kind of have to gauge. Maybe like a James Justin, who I currently have in the team. He didn't start. I think he came back and then he tested positive, so he had to sit out. And then now he's back. So maybe he starts. We'll see. Again, with Leicester, I can't remember if they have a Europa League game or not. So we'll have to check that one out personally. But yeah, I'm gonna go with James Justin. I think he could be an interesting pick if he starts, obviously, because he was so electric last season. He was my player that I didn't have for basically the whole season. and he burnt me. That player this season is... I'm trying to think who it would be. I guess maybe Kane right now. But there was no like cheaper player which I just didn't have, and I just kept getting burnt week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out. Yeah, maybe Bowen. I didn't have Bowen for somewhat of a long period of time, and he just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. But yeah, we'll go with James Justin. In midfield, who are we going to go for? That's going to be an interesting pick here. I think probably you have to go with somebody that's just going to be completely different. And I think Eriksen is definitely that. He's going up against a team that they should probably lose. Obviously only recently coming back, but has been very good when he's played. He's definitely a punt. And it's a nostalgia kind of pick. Got an assist last week as well. So yeah, 5.5 million. Why not? You got like maybe like a Smith Rowe liner on your team who's been coming off the bench recently, or just a midfielder like you don't really care for too much. Maybe go for Eriksen for a week, see how it pans out. And then in the forward line, I think you kind of have to go for somebody that's out there. You're not going to go for like a Lacazette or a Kane. That's going to be pretty standard in a lot of free hit teams or just teams in general. So forwards, I think if you're going to go for somebody, you have to go for Leicester. We went for Daka last week. And Brendan Rodgers did play Iheanacho. He started Iheanacho. So I'm just going to go with Iheanacho again. In hopes that potentially he starts again. Because I think when he plays, he's good. And when he plays for basically the full 90, he's really good. But I think what they could do is play both him and Daka. Basically, play Iheanacho as like a 10 with Maddison as well. They can then play their midfield 4 or 2 wing backs, and then they can have 3 at the back if Fofana's fully fit. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Iheanacho, I think. What I'm going to do is I'm actually on the other... I'm going to bring something up on the other monitor over here. Let me see. Yeah, they do play in conference. They play Rennes tomorrow. They're up 2-0 on aggregate, so they should be fine, but they are away from home. What is it? The tactics board. Here we go. There we go. We brought up the tactics board. So I'm just going to move this the notepad out of the way here. So Leicester have been setting up in like a 4-3-3 for me. If I was Brendan Rodgers, this is what I would do. So I play 3 at the back because they've been very bad defensively, but the most success has come with this sort of shape when James Justin was in the team. I can't remember if he was playing left wing back or right, or like he was playing in the right in a 3, but he could also play wing back as well. And then you have like two like number 10s in behind. So you would have, this would be Daka. This would be Maddison because he's right-footed, and he could shoot. He can basically, if he's here, he can shoot in this direction. And then with Iheanacho, he can shoot because he's left-footed that way. So, I'll just say Nacho. And this would be a similar system that Chelsea plays quite often when they play Mason Mount and Kai Havertz, and they play him in behind like Werner. As an example, sometimes Kai Havertz will play in this position, but if they have Lukaku here and they play 2 number 10s with with Havertz and Mount, they'll play in these 2 positions here. In central midfield, I think you have to play Ndidi. This is going to be their best team. I think Tielemans comes in here as well. Left wing back, you would play. I I think you could play James. You could play James Justin there when fully fit. Obviously, Castagne. I don't know how. Did I spell his name right? Maybe, maybe not. Is Castagne even fit? Castagne is not fit. April 2nd. So after the international break. Okay, so he's not available. But this is who you would play. In his place, you could play James Justin instead. And you could play Thomas here. And then across the back four, you play, I don't know how to spell Soyuncu. Soyuncu. If Fofana's back, you could play Fofana. And then you could play Amarty. I probably butchered those names. And then obviously you play Schmeichel in goal. I abbreviated his name. But that's how I would do it. And then James Justin was like super good in this position or in this position here. He was often found in the back three as well, making like underlapping runs. And like, so these would hold the width. You would have your two number 10s working in this area. The number 9 kind of running in and around the box. Your midfielders just recycling the ball, keeping a lock on this like this overload in the middle here, conducting things. And then you have like you can have your two center backs kind of playing in and around like this area sort of. So you have this triangle in here. So you're always outnumbering. If they have like two forwards, let's say, that are looking to break, you always are +1 because that's the rule. You always want to be +1 in defense. They would probably be more like here if they're playing like a low block or whatever. Brentford will play with two front men, so that's what you want. You want that +3, +1 rather, 3 versus 2. And then Castagne, Justin, or Marte can be outside here. You can have Iheanacho come wide, and then Castagne or Justin come in here. You can do a bunch of different things with the system. It's very flexible. Also, not to mention, Brentford also play a back three. So that also means you can match them up man for man in terms of when they're attacking with their front three. So whether it be like, if it be Ivan, Toney, Mbeumo, and Eriksen, you can have Maddison just mark Eriksen. You can have, not Maddison, mark Eriksen. You can have Ndidi, Tielemans, and then like one of the center backs, or like Ndidi and Tielemans will pay attention to the strikers, but you have the two central defenders kind of looking at those two guys, and then one free one to basically keep them out of the game. Ndidi or Tielemans can basically just keep an eye on Eriksen as an example. So like in this situation, if let's say Brentford had the ball up the pitch, if this is Ivan Toney and this is Mbeumo, you would have Amarte stay close to him, Soyuncu stay close to him. If Fofana could basically be +1 here. If Eriksen's trying to drop off in these spaces, you basically tell Ndidi to cover him, and Tielemans can basically block passing lanes in front of him, basically. And Ndidi would, be in a position to tell him which way to go. Rio Ferdinand gave a good example of how Van der Sar used to be like, I'm going to, go a little bit left, go a little bit right, this way, that way. And Rio would say, like, I'm going to guide him this way so that all you have to do is cover this a little bit of the goal. If it goes between my legs, it's my fault. So, yeah. Go check out Vibe at 5. I can't remember which one it was. But he's talked on a few of them, actually. So, yeah, make sure to check that out. It's really, really good stuff. So, yeah, that was the predictions there. This is the free hit team currently as it stands. That's not the tab I wanted to open. I wanted to open a new window. There we go. Because I want to put the tweet out. Also, Kane annoyingly did pick up 2 bonus points, which is very, very annoying, and actually hurts me quite a bit. There we go. Tweet that out. Get rid of that. Close that. Don't need that. Okay. There we go. Lovely. So this is the free hit team we currently have in place. I'm going to probably have to change it around slightly. And we can look at that after we look at the fixtures as well. But this is what we currently have. So not too much to work with. Excuse me. I think triple Wolves defense is probably something that not many managers are going to have. They might have double. Money is not really an object here. Money, you can literally buy the most expensive players from every team that you can physically fit in possible, and you'll still have money for anything you want. I think I have like 3 million extra, and I have Kane, Son, Lacazette, one of the most expensive goalkeepers. You know, it doesn't matter what you get. You can literally get anyone you want from these teams, no matter what. If I wanted the most expensive strikers, I could get those and still upgrade the defense. Like, it's still fun. Bench doesn't really matter too much because hopefully you're picking the team that's going to do well. I think players that you should definitely be having in your team, I think probably Cody as one of your Wolves defenders, I think is probably fine. I think Jose Sa is another one. Really, really good on the free hit. James Maddison, I think, comes straight back in, assuming he's not injured, for in Europa League. I think they're going to need him versus Brentford to get on the ball and create some action. Saka, I think, is probably going to be quite a popular pick as well. I think he'll be involved quite heavily, and they're going to need him. I think Kulusevski and Kane, definitely. And then it comes down to that third Spurs player. I think that Son and Doherty are going to be the two popular ones. I still think that West Ham are going to score because Spurs are still somewhat shaky at the back and are prone to mistakes. So I think that West Ham will nick one, and it's just a matter of, do I want to risk that clean sheet? Son is getting taken off over Kulusevski, but I think if you're going to go for Spurs, you might as well go for all three attackers. It doesn't make sense risking the clean sheet. Yeah, Doherty looks like he's quite threatening, but Son is Son. So, and just when you start to doubt Son, he'll score 1 billion points. I think Kane captain is the only real option here. He's the man in form. It just makes the most sense. Safest option. But then some interesting picks. You can go for Raya if you don't think Leicester are going to score. You can go for Ivan Toney. Again, trying to fit him in over a bunch of these guys is tough. You have Matty Cash. If you think that, again, I had a team where I didn't have any Arsenal in it. I went with only Aston Villa if I thought that Aston Villa was going to win. But I think, honestly, it's going to be more of a shootout and see who's going to score more than the other team. So that's why I've gone with like 3 attackers. And I just hope Coutinho, Saka, and Lacazette are the ones involved. And then James Justin, that last defender spot is a bit of an interesting one. I'm not sure how or like what I should go for there. Do I sacrifice Son and go for Doherty, even though he might not necessarily play? I mean, he still probably will. He got subbed off earlier tonight, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play versus West Ham. Although he probably should, because he's been very, very good. Who to put in that other spot? Maybe you can take Son out, put Doherty in Justin's place, and then put Eriksen in there. That's another option, but again, that's a bit of a risk. But I think you definitely have to go 5 across midfield. I think you have to go minimal number of defenders because I think the likelihood of a clean sheet of any of these teams is probably slim. The only one that I would probably consider that would get a clean sheet would be Wolves, and I'd rather focus that all in one section. Leeds is a team that I have no cover for here. No Rafinha, no nothing. But if you're going to go midfield, it's probably going to be Rafinha. Again, if you didn't go Son, you would go Rafinha instead of Justin. I would then go Doherty. That would be what we would probably end up doing. Maybe Toney comes in, but that's kind of the team that we've settled on at the moment. And I think it looks pretty good. James Dustin is a differential. Triple Wolves will be a differential. Having triple Spurs is probably not as likely. And then the bench, you could just pick kind of whoever you want, really. But we'll see what Leicester do tomorrow in the Europa League. Again, they play the Sunday game, which is fine for them. But we'll see how they do versus Rennes. They don't play a later game. They play at like middle of the day ish. It's like 2 o'clock my time, so they play at like 10, which is like a weird time or something. I think. Let me see. Leicester City. So 2:45 kickoff would be like almost 11 a.m. basically. No, it would be 6:45. So they'd finish around like 9. They'd probably stay overnight, catch the train the next or catch a flight back on the Friday, and then they'll have probably a recovery day on Saturday, and then they'll be good to go again for the Sunday. But yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. It depends on how stressed they get in the Europa League. We'll have to see how thin the resources get spread to see if we actually go there. So yeah. Right now, newly announced. So I was going to do a video on this yesterday, but there are some caveats, and some people made some fantastic diagrams as well. So we're going to take a look at those, or look at one of them at least, and we're going to see how these fixtures have potentially affected our transfer plans. So let's take a look at them. So this is, this is FPL Focal has posted this. And basically it's for the double game week fixtures for game week 33. We'll talk about game week 31 because it's a lot smaller. We'll talk about that in a second. But game week 33 is probably the major one because there is a chance that Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City could all potentially double in this one, or some of the big teams could double. The confirmed double game week for sure. So this is 100% set in stone, guaranteed. Brighton now have a double versus Spurs and Man City. That's nailed on. Burnley and Southampton, or Burnley play Southampton and West Ham. That's nailed on. Leicester with a very good-looking set of fixtures versus Newcastle and Everton in game week 33. And then Man United play Norwich and Liverpool as well as a double game week there as well. And then Newcastle play Crystal Palace and Leicester as a double game week. So those who've hung on to the likes of Chris Wood, or have Wout Weghorst, or still have Nick Pope as an example. Maybe you still have a United asset. Maybe you still have Ronaldo, or you're looking to go from to go to Fernandez or something like that. We shall see how that might pan out. But those are the double game weeks in double game week 33. Initial reactions: Leicester's look good on paper. United's is okay. One of those is Liverpool, but again, the other one's Norwich. So you're just hoping to get anything in the Liverpool game. The Newcastle one's probably not bad. Crystal Palace at home is probably trickier than Leicester at home. So not too bad there. Brighton and Burnley ones are probably a bit trickier, I would think. Now, potential double game week 33 fixtures that could be affected. These are fixtures that could be affected because it depends on who progresses in the FA Cup. So currently, still in the FA Cup is Southampton. They play Man City. Liverpool are still in the FA Cup. I can't remember who they play. Chelsea are still in the FA Cup. Now, the reason Arsenal might double is because if Southampton don't progress, then Arsenal will get the double. If Southampton do progress, then Arsenal won't get the double, and Man City will, basically, if my understanding is correct. Hey, Mano, how's it going? Good evening to you. Good afternoon. Good morning, wherever everyone is that is watching. 86 points. Man U go good. Man U not good at the moment. But yeah. Did well. 97 points with the hit 93. We're on a small red arrow, but we kind of expected that because we didn't have Kane, and Kane did hurt us. But we did have some. We made up a little bit of it. Robertson did really well for us this week. So I'm going good. Yeah, my FPL team's going good. Man United's not though. At the moment, out of everything in March is not too good to be honest. So yeah, that's my understanding of the fixtures. Also, if Liverpool were to make it through to the semi-finals of the FA Cup, Aston Villa would then blank. If Chelsea make it through, then Leeds would blank. And if Man City make it through, then Wolves would blank. So the thing that would really throw a wrench in the works is if Man City were to lose in the FA Cup versus Southampton. Because that would mean Arsenal wouldn't get a blank, or they wouldn't get a double. Man City would, and Wolves players would still be the fixture would still be there, but it's not great, basically. I'm like you, Kane, don't have him. What are you thinking for game week 30? I have Son and probably want to keep Salah. I have a free hit, so I can get anyone I want. But yeah, I think taking Salah out for a hit only to bring him back, probably not the greatest. I wouldn't think. I think if you have Son, unless you have 2 free transfers, I think you have to stay with him. I think you just go like Son, Kulusevski, and get Doherty, and just hope Kane isn't the one, basically. It's kind of it. Yeah, and if I was going to captain somebody out of those 3, I'd pick Kulusevski, to be honest. So yeah, that's the double game week 33 fixture. So these ones up here are confirmed. These ones are tentative and will be changed based on the FA Cup results this weekend. So again, we'll have a more updated video for you next week on that. And then the potential blank game weeks will also be resolved as well. And then in game week 31, there was another added fixture in there. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fixtures. And then 11th one there. So Burnley, they double in this game week here. They play Man City and Everton both at home. And then Everton play West Ham and Burnley away. So not the greatest double game week, but it is a double nonetheless. If you do have Wout Weghorst or an Everett like Gordon or something like that, you're probably more inclined to play them. Basically, nothing really too game breaking there. But yeah, it all depends on what the fixtures are looking like after the FA Cup fixtures this week. So we'll see how that kind of pans out. But yeah, so this is the team currently for the free hit. In order to change things around, if I wanted to go Doherty, maybe he's more informed than Son is, then I would take James Justin out, put Doherty in, and go Rafinha. But again, then I'm playing Rafinha against 3 Wolves defenders. Do I really want to do that? Not really. But I can't think of any players that I would probably go for that aren't nailed on, as an example. So out of the players that I know are going to play, Salah's going to play, Cody's going to, in the starting lineup. Salah's going to play, Cody's going to play. Justin and Kilman are maybes. Although I think Kilman came straight back in. He did. Saka will play. Madison should play. But again, could be bench. Son will play. Coutinho will play. Kulusevski will play. Lacazette will play. Tony will play. Kane will play. It's just a matter about getting that one little differential player here or there that might be interesting. And I think that's going to come in that third defender spot. Maybe like a James Justin or something like that. Junior's been a disaster since I got him. I had him in last season. He was awful. And I never got him back. He's just one of those defenders that I don't trust him because he's injury prone. He looks good for maybe a game or two, and if you didn't have him before that, he's not great. He's like the dollar store version of Reece James. Basically. In the Reece James, like a similar-ish price. Mind you, not with his price increases, but yeah. So, like, what other interesting Wolves defenders could we go? Like, I'm just trying to think. Like, did Johnny play the full game? Like, Johnny's played the full game. He's played the full game in the last two and done well, but he's not playing on his natural side because he was usually playing he usually plays left wing back. At least when Doherty was still there. But he could play right wing back and be perfectly fine. It's the other side that you don't want to touch because Marcel, Aitner, who knows is going to be there. So maybe Johnny would be like a differential there. Like over the likes of Kilman. I mean, Kilman's 3.9%, so you're probably getting a little bit more security with Kilman. Cody and Ramsey on the bench this week? Yeah, that's a yikes. Would Son be my captain? No, I would do Kulusevski, to be honest. But I'll be on here tomorrow, and we'll see what the table and the data says. We'll see what the table and the data says. I'll be back here tomorrow, similar time, start time, and we'll see what the data says on that. But I think my initial impression is that it would be Kane, Kulusevski, Son, in that order, if you were to pick one. So we'll see. Kulusevski's already over 10% owned, as per usual. Moore's not going to start. No chance. No chance. Conte is one of these managers that literally once he has a team, he doesn't change it. Basically. He'll change it in a game, but he won't change it. He did this at Chelsea too. The only thing he started changing at Inter was because he had the luxury of changing strikers. At Spurs, he doesn't. He's just going to play his best front three. And I think Kulusevski would be nailed on the start because it's not like they're playing against a super easy team where he can maybe play more or no. And also Kulusevski's been like wicked every time he's played. And as we can see, he's basically plays 90 minutes. And he's returned in every game except for one since he's played, so not bad. Not bad at all. But yeah, I think Kane is probably the most likely standout captain. Just makes the most sense. And then it'd be Kulusevski and then Son for me. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it. Maybe you can go for something differential if you think that Aston Villa is just going to get opened up. But I mean, at home, I don't see that very likely. If you pick maybe a Leicester team that's on fire that day, like a Madison or something, that could be really good. But yeah. Who could be a good Digne replacement? I have 3 Wolves. Do you have 3 Spurs? If you don't have 3 Spurs, probably Doherty. That's what I would think. Pretty straightforward that. You wouldn't be able to get Kane, but yeah. Oh, you have 3 Spurs already. Okay, well. Maybe like a Tierney, a Ben White, something like that. Do you have triple Arsenal? If you have triple Arsenal, then I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just sack that position and just say, yeah, we'll just deal with that later. So you have 9 players then, at least. How many players do you have for this week? If you have 9 players for this week, at least, then you're fine. Oh, you have 11. Okay, well then, yeah. You're fine. You don't need Digne. Oh, so you have 10. Okay, fine. Yeah, just stay with 10. Just Digne's whatever. I think if you want to bring in somebody future-wise, you can look for, I don't know. Or just roll the transfer and assess the situation going into 31. That's what I would do, to be honest. A lot of managers are doing that. If their team's already set up and Digne's out, it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Probably wasn't going to keep a clean sheet anyway. Fine. But yeah, if we look at my team from for this week, the players that I would have had in the double would have been, so guaranteed starters. We have Ramsdale, that's 1. Rafinha's 2, Kulusevski's 3, Coutinho's 4, Watkins is 5. And then I have Smith Rowe and Aït-Nouri, who are most likely going to be potentially benched. And then I would have no Jose Sa, no Saka, no Martinelli, no Lacazette, no Kane, no Son, no Doherty. Just nada. So, yeah, I needed to free hit this week for sure. And I can make up my red hour that I have this week, the small red hour that I have. It's only 400 places I think we dropped at the moment. The Newcastle and Everton game shouldn't affect us that much. So, yeah, we should be fine. But yeah, this is the team as it stands. So we got Jose Sa, we got James Justin again, still contemplating that 1 position. Cody, Kilman, Madison, Saka. Maybe I go with Johnny as an interesting punt instead of Kilman. That's an interesting one that I'm looking at. Saka, Coutinho, Son, Kulusevski, Lacazette, and Kane. If Madison looks like he's not going to play or something for whatever reason, maybe I go for like an interesting pick, like an Eriksen or something like that. Maybe I play Tony instead or something. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, before we sign off, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout one more time. So, Fantasy Football Scout is a fantastic members area. We'll be doing another stream tomorrow where we'll show more of the tables, as mentioned in the chat. We'll talk about the captaincy options for tomorrow. We'll put in all the players. You'll see it live happen, and we'll take a look at all of them and see who is the potential best captaincy option, as well as a bunch of other things that will help make our decisions better. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. And make sure to, like I said, take a look at Fantasy Football Scout. It's in the About section or in the description below if you're watching this over on YouTube. Now, let's move over to the big screen. Could do Broja to Tony instead of Digne. Yeah, that's an idea. I would say that's definitely an idea. But do you necessarily need it? I don't know. I think 10 players is probably fine. Tony's fixtures, he has Chelsea in 31, so unless you can... He has Chelsea and West Ham in 31 and 32, so unless you're going to bench him in those two, then it's probably not ideal. If you have to play him in those, I mean, it's probably not great, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's going to do it for our blank game week 30 preview. We'll be back tomorrow, similar time, probably earlier, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Around 6:30 p.m. EST. That is half an hour before our normal start time. Yeah, normal start time. So yeah, make sure to come check us out for that. It's going to be here on Twitch as per normal. Make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on all the platforms. PilotFlame226, you know where to find me. And until the next one, take care.